Do you find yourself standing here battling an overwhelming urge for something sweet? It's as if those cravings have taken on a life of their own. You're not alone. This is very typical for a woman between 45 to 55, generally as they come into perimenopause. This can be as early as 35 years old, as women often will come in earlier to perimenopause due to certain medications, chemotherapy, lifestyle factors, and even some toxins they've been exposed to. In this video, I'll talk about why these cravings are occurring, but more importantly, how to regain control. Stay with me until the end to get actionable steps to curb those cravings. If this is something you're struggling with, go on and book your free consultation with me at the link below. And together, we'll create a plan to help get you started. As women enter perimenopause, key hormones such as estrogen begin to decline. And the reason why is the ovaries produce the majority of the estrogen, progesterone, and even some testosterone for women. As we enter perimenopause, this natural production begins to slow. Now, something I want you to understand is it's not hopeless. Through our brain, skin, and organs, our body can still produce these hormones if we consume the right nutrients. And we'll get into that a little bit later into the video. Estrogen, the hormone, is not just vital for reproduction. It actually influences appetite and metabolism. As we enter perimenopause, as our estrogen begins to naturally decline from the ovary production, it can actually increase our appetite. And a telltale sign is craving those salty and sugary high-fat foods. Let's break down the hormones involved. Leptin. Leptin is the hormone that actually lets us know that we're full, that we're satisfied. And as our estrogen declines starting in perimenopause, it makes us more leptin resistant. So what that means is it doesn't register in the brain that we actually feel satisfied, and so we keep craving or we keep thinking that we're hungry when actually we're not. But because there's been a disconnect in signals because of a drop in estrogen, makes the body more resistant to leptin. Ghrelin is often known as the hunger hormone, and its production is linked directly with estrogen. As estrogen levels fall in perimenopause to menopause, it naturally increases ghrelin. So it will make us feel we're hungry because we're having an increase in ghrelin just simply because of the decline in estrogen. Let me know if that makes sense for you. Cortisol is also the body's main stress hormone. Imagine running from a bear. You're going to feel excited, probably a bit overwhelmed, and you're not going to be thinking it's time to sit and have a drink or have a bite of something to eat. So that's exactly how cortisol acts in your body. When we feel stressed or we're reacting, then our levels of cortisol go up. When that happens, the body is going to retain water, fat storage, because again, if you're running from a bear, think you're not going to stop and have something to drink and eat. So this is a natural way to actually protect us and help us survive. But in this particular circumstance, it's not helping us lose weight. Insulin. Insulin is the hormone that actually helps regulate blood sugar. Starting in perimenopause, we become often insulin resistant, and what this means is the body's insulin is no longer functioning at its optimum level. So instead, what is happening is that we're having more sugar deposited into the bloodstream because it's not being picked up from insulin. Insulin is like the vehicle that takes the sugar out of the bloodstream and drives it over into the next destination. And so we want to make sure that we regulate our blood sugars, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But as far as insulin goes, when we become insulin resistant, our insulin levels are still going up. When that occurs, that's increasing our appetite and also increasing the fat around our stomach and even water retention. These hormonal changes can make it seem like your appetite is out of control, especially in the afternoon and evenings. Let me know down in the comments When do you feel like your sugar cravings are the worst? Is it more so in the afternoon, evening, or any other time? I'd love to know. Take a client of mine who came to me who had just extreme, overwhelming sugar cravings. She'd already been to the doctor, she'd already been to the endocrinologist, and all they said is, hey, we could put you on hormones, and she absolutely didn't want to do that just yet. She wanted to really look at some holistic ways that she could be able to manage these sugar cravings, manage her weight, and really feel good and have a good mood during this period of time. In working with me and my program Nutrition for Life, we worked with this particular client and we helped her learn how to balance her meals for her body, for her hormones. And once we got those balanced, and she not only was able to reverse her sugar cravings, control that eating, lose weight, increase her mood, stop the hot flashes, she literally was reborn again. This transformation went beyond the scale. It was about regaining control over her life. Consuming foods unbalanced can lead to rapid spikes in blood sugar and then rapid declines. This roller coaster triggers further cravings, and this cycle can be difficult to break. That's why it's important to understand the pattern here so that you can learn to recognize it in order to execute the actionable steps that we'll be getting into. We want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep most nights. Consistent sleep patterns actually help rebalance hormones. It's crucial that we get good quality sleep. Sleep is the only time that our body can rest, remove the toxins from our brain, and through that process, it's able to rebalance our hormones. That's why with just one poor night's sleep, it increases our blood sugar, which increases our cortisol, which increases our water retention and even our fat. In just a poor night's sleep, you can measure your waist circumference and gain as much as 1 inch to 1 inch just in water retention. We want to eliminate frequent snacking, which can increase insulin levels, which can increase sugar cravings. And when we talk about snacking, we're talking about that handful of nuts or a handful of chips or a piece of toast. Everything that we consume, we really want to focus on making it a meal, and obviously that being a smaller meal. We're not looking at large meals, we're looking at smaller meals, which we're about to get into. But basically don't want to really consume anything over 3 to 4 hours at a time. Every time we're consuming something sooner than really 3 hours and it's not used for immediate energy like exercise or work, then that is going to increase our blood sugar, increasing our insulin, and increase those sugar cravings. So the handful of nuts is often the worst thing, or one of the things I see most common as a trend in perimenopausal to menopause women's. Just having mindless snacking throughout the day. It's just a little bit, but it's not the calories I want you to understand. It's the insulin spike that's occurring that's creating the sugar cravings in us. We want to choose complex and non-starchy carbohydrates, which have a lower insulin or blood sugar response and helps control our sugar cravings over refined carbohydrates. We want to make sure that we really understand the difference between a refined carbohydrate versus a complex and a non-starchy carbohydrate. Some of the most misunderstood things about carbohydrates is that white bread is the same as whole grain bread. So any white rice, any white bread is basically pure sugar. It's broken down. If you read the first 3 ingredients, it's going to say enriched sugar or glucose. And that basically means that you're consuming a teaspoon of sugar when you have that sandwich. So a suggestion would be to change that up and look for a whole grain bread, not necessarily wheat, because a lot of wheat is not truly whole grain. So you want to look at the ingredients on the bread or the label to make sure that you're really getting a whole grain bread or something like Ezekiel that's also going to have fiber in it in order to slow the blood sugar or insulin response. We want to include high nutrient fats into most of our meals. And I'm talking about things like avocados, chia or hemp seeds, olive oil, High nutrient fats not only help you feel satisfied, stabilize your blood sugar, but they actually can help your body produce estrogen and progesterone. So if you're feeling, especially if you've got any of these symptoms that we're talking about, of course, sugar cravings, but the belly fat, the hot flashes, anything like that, you want to incorporate fats in every single day and at least 2 of your meals to start. We want to incorporate high quality protein into all of our meals. Virtually every time you eat, you want to be incorporating some type of high quality protein. And we're talking about things like tuna fish, pork, chicken, seafood, a high quality shake. If you want a suggestion for a protein shake, I've got a link down in this description below. Protein is the only macronutrient that helps our body produce most of its hormones. And so just by adding protein into all of your meals, we're naturally going to increase the functionality of your insulin, help decrease your sugar cravings, and even tap into that belly fat. Having or adding protein in with your meals is way better than just having a handful of nuts that are going to spike your insulin and leave you with more cravings throughout the day. And one of the biggest tips I can suggest is to stop using restrictive diets. Things such as carnivore, keto, low carb, low fat, or even cutting your calories as much as 500 calories. And here's why. There are 3 macronutrients: proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Each of those has a critical role in the production of our hormones as women. And so protein, as we've discussed, actually helps the body produce most of its hormones in some way. Fats help our bodies produce estrogen and progesterone. So if we're eliminating fats or doing low fat, then we're actually slowing the production of our estrogen. And remember, all of those things that are happening, it's like a domino effect. The more our estrogen declines. So we certainly don't want to decrease our estrogen production anymore. And carbohydrates are huge in the production of our hormones. Not only do they help produce estrogen and progesterone, but insulin and a lot of other hormones that not only help us feel good, but look good. So when we're using the carnivore diet or we're using the keto, yes, I hear you. Short term, you may lose some weight. Short term, but long term, what's going to happen is you're going to hit a plateau at around the 10-pound mark normally, and this is where we feel like we're doing everything. We're at caloric restrictions, we're doing keto diets, and we're not able to manage our sugar cravings. And if we are managing our sugar cravings, we're craving the things such as carbs because of the drop in estrogen and even progesterone. So can you see the domino effect when we go into dieting? So we would steer away from all dieting. I actually use a full strategy for macronutrients, and we're learning how to eat all of these things together so that they not only satisfy you, decrease your sugar craving, and help you get rid of that ongoing challenging menopausal belly fat. And the next tip is we want to engage in some type of physical activity for 15 to 30 minutes a day. This not only decreases your cortisol levels, but helps with the lymphatic system to remove toxins. The lymphatic system is unlike the circulatory system that has a natural pump, so to say, to move those toxins throughout the body to get rid of them. The lymphatic system is going to require muscular contraction in order to be able to get rid of those toxins. So walking is a great activity, but we want to make sure that we're engaging our muscles to get that contraction to really excrete the toxins to help us rebalance our hormones at our optimal levels. And the last one, being consistent. Implementing these strategies consistently over a period of time will not only help you balance your hormones, but minimize or reverse those sugar cravings. If this is something that you'd like help with, I'd love to talk. You can book your free call with me today. You can find the link in the description below. And don't forget to check out this next video.